How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Wonderful. Please. So let's talk a little bit about the academy.
Yeah.
And maybe how it all started.
Yeah. Previously, since 2003, we started elite program for the age 13 and 14.
Okay.
And it is not about football. Of course, we do the football program, and also we give them the off-the-pitch program to facilitate their personality or leadership or every kind of things. And we could see that this program is very important and very effective, so we decided to start academy to give this elite program more intensively by lodging system.
Did you find that early on, a lot of young girls were just rushing to join the academy, or did it take a while for word to get out?
Since our national team, the performance is now getting better, so many girls want to be like Nadeshiko, the national team players. So actually, many girls try the examination to enter the academy now.
Were any of the U17 women, did any of them go through the...
Yeah, we have 6 players from the academies. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And national team as well, we have 6 players already go to the senior national team. Some of them are not stable in the team, but now two players from our academy is playing in the senior national team. Although their first year, the eldest player is only 24, so maybe after that, more players will come to national team from the academy. I hope.
I hope. Yes.
I hope, yes.
Our next guest, Vanessa Martinez Lagunas. She's played at the highest level, now coaches at the highest level. She played collegiately for the University of Texas in the United States, then played for the Mexican national team, was just a stud in both levels. She transitioned into coaching after basically getting interested in that whole wacky world of coaching while she was a student at the University of Texas. She's got all kinds of the highest top-level coaching licenses, including UEFA's pro license. Absolute honor to have Vanessa here a little bit.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so you go from playing with a hugely successful playing career to now obtaining that path, what you've accomplished, that to players, coaching could be a viable way for you to continue to stay in the game. How important is that for just developing players to get up through the coaching ranks?
Well, I think it's very important, and better I would use the word crucial.
Okay.
Because without coaching education, you cannot develop players. So it's key for this. Yeah, it's really important because coaches right now in the modern game have to wear many different hats. You don't only have to be an expert in the game, but now you have to be also a mentor, you have to be a manager, you have to be a recruiter, you have to be sometimes even a psychologist. So the job is really demanding, and there are many things that you should be able to do, and you have to be prepared for it. It's like any other career. You have to get some academic preparation and then also the practical experience. And I think that can help many females to be better prepared for the job.
Now, I know we're waiting to see if April Heinrichs is here. So what I'm going to do is have somebody poke their head out from behind the curtain and let me know if I'm introducing April or not. Is April here? April, are you here? Because if you are, come on out and I'll just talk all about you while you sit down. All right. So let's wait for April to come and we'll get the discussion going. When you were at Texas and competing there, and then obviously also excelling on with the national team in your homeland, Mexico, did you have any idea that your playing would lead you to this level of coaching? Did you have that idea with Chris Petrocelli at Texas?
No, to be honest, when I moved from Mexico to the U.S., I wanted to improve. I wanted to go to an environment that could let me grow. But at that moment, I was not interested in coaching. And when I was there and I started seeing kind of his methodology and this little thing inside me started, and I wanted to know why he was doing what he was doing with us, and that's when I got very interested in coaching. And I think one recommendation that I will give to young coaches or players, current players, is to start their coach education early, because it takes up to 10 years, 10 to 12 years to achieve the highest coaching license, the UEFA license, pro license, or any other higher license. It takes a lot of years. So if you don't start early, when you are still an active player, many women don't do it anymore because they just finish playing,
right,
and then they need 10 more years to be able to coach at the highest level. So I think my recommendation for our current players is to start early when you're still a player, because also if you take coaching courses, it helps your game. And I can tell you, once I started taking coaching courses, my understanding of the game was completely different, because I was seeing everything with the coach's eye instead of the player's eye, and that's a huge help.
Kelly, when you're developing players, and Junko, I'll ask you the same thing, when you're developing players in your country, what are you looking for the most? Is there a criteria that you're going through, or is it different with every player? Is there a model that we're talking about in terms of developing young players in your country?
Well, we've got a long-term player development program, which is currently kind of called the Four Corners model, which is basically looking for players with the technical skills, right, tactical skills, but also physiological aspects, and then the social as well. You know, are they going to fit into the team? Are they good people? Are they going to make good leaders? You know, are they going to be good citizens, good role models? So a range of factors that we're looking at, but actually both on the men's and the women's side, quite boys and girls. So it's all sort of up for review at the moment, and something that we know that we need to kind of build and improve on. But yes, we would have player profiling across the age groups, what the coaches are looking for across that kind of four corners model.
And if a young girl is getting started at the age of like 8, 9, or 10, will that system and model continue up through the youth programs,
yes,
if you will?
Yes, it would, yeah.
Why is that important?
Through. I think it's really important because you want to get the right players in the system, then you need to be constantly assessing that you think they're going to make it through, right through to the top. You know, you've got late developers coming in as well that might compete, so you've got to be judging these players. You've only got so many players in your talent player pathway, and you want the best players in there that you think are going to make it through to the top. So you're constantly then going to be assessing against maybe late developers coming in. So it's really important that you've got a range of criteria that you're looking for a holistic kind of approach to developing the best players.
Junko, I'll ask you the similar question.
Yeah. As you introduced earlier, the Japanese people are not very tall, not very powerful, so we put importance on technique. So technique is the most important factor for us. And the second, we look for the 4 factors for the talent identification. So one is technique, and the second one is intelligence.
Okay.
And third one, the physical factor, is speed, because they cannot acquire later, so it is like congenital or inherent factor, the speed, so we look for speed. And then we look for the personality. Yeah, those 4 factors.
And like Kelly, would you keep that same model as you grow up and through your academy?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
And in your words, why is that crucial for your Japanese Girls Academy?
We have academy, and also we have other program as well, because we think we need to see the players in the long term. Mm-hmm. We cannot tell what is happening after, and some players will develop later slowly. Okay. So we don't want to eliminate the potentials too early. So we try to have the system to look the players, not only the players on the program, but off the program, we want to see the players for a long time.
Excellent. Well, April Heinrichs is in the house, folks. You know, we talk about roots, and everybody here in women's soccer has some roots. Some are deep, some deeper than others, and hers go way the heck down. April was an absolute star at North Carolina, winning 3 NCAA championships. Played for the World Cup winning United States women's national team in 1991. That was historic and memorable. As a coach, what she did with the U.S. women's national team, pretty darn impressive. A pair of Olympic gold medals. Former U.S. team is now the technical director for the United States women's national team. So April basically has gone from player to coach to technical director. April, we're glad you could make it. Come on out.
Thank you.
You made it.
Thank you.
You made
it.
Hi.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, girls. Hi.
Hi, girls.
Hi.
Okay.
I've been here 15 minutes.
You have?
I've been in the back listening.
Why didn't you let me know? You just got here. All right. So President Webb talked about the parity of women's soccer and the dominance of many years ago where it was a Concacaf represented team winning the world championships. That's starting to level out a little bit. So when folks ask you, where's the next Mia? Where's the next Abby? Is the answer, well, she's right there in Alex and everybody else on this wonderful team? Or have things changed a little bit on the landscape and the search is real?
Yeah. I think it's twofold. The next Mia, the next Abby is out there in Japan and Germany and France and Sweden. There's some great players out there now. In the mid-90s, we had maybe 5 to 7 of the best players in the world on our team.
Okay. On
And
your
now,
team, yeah.
Yeah. And now it's changed. You know, some of the best players in the world are in Japan. You certainly see one of the best players on the Swedish national team in the world. You see players from all over the world. England has some fantastic players that are doing well in our league. Actually, Wales has a great player that's doing well in our league. So the wealth has been spread around, and now we're competing, as Junta just said, we're competing in different ways and trying to be a little bit smarter on how we compete.
Vanessa, what ways would you say, and you guys all jump in, has the game changed so much that now you look for different identifying factors in terms of identifying the elite players, if that makes sense?
Yes. Definitely. I think the game has changed a lot, especially I will say in all aspects. In athleticism, so we see, as Junko mentioned, speed is a crucial factor, but our game has improved a lot. We saw recently there was an analysis made of the World Cup in 2011 in Germany, and for the first time ever we could see objective numbers of the distances and speeds that the female players are achieving in some aspects, like the total distance is pretty similar to what the men are doing as well. So definitely the game has evolved in that aspect. Technically and tactically, we're seeing things that we couldn't see before, like even just at the under 17 level, what the players are doing is just fantastic. And I think it's because they are starting earlier, a lot earlier than we used to. They have really well and prepared coaches that are helping their way. So definitely it's a big change.
All right, here's for everybody. And I get you have criteria in place, or your 4 different markers, physical, physiological, tactical, technical, whatever. But so throw away all those terms. What's the 1 or 2 things that you look for in a player right now where you think, now we're talking? Go.
Adults or coming through the system generally.
Yep, and where you can see this could be an elite player. This could be a national team player.
I think increasingly in England, probably from looking at countries like Spain and Japan, who can hold the ball so well and can keep the ball in tight situations and keep possession. You know, we're looking for better technical players who are comfortable on the ball and can play the ball through the three-thirds of the pitch, as we call it. So I think, you know, that's really important. But then, you know, as we chatted about earlier, I think, you know, the physiological aspects are really, really important as well. That is the one area of the game that's changed so much: the pace, the power, the speed, the game, the athleticism of the players. It's really important that the players have got the potential to come through and be able to compete at the top level in terms of the pace and power as well.
Junko, what's the one thing that jumps out at you when you see a young girl come into your academy? What's the one thing where you might say to yourself, she's got it?
The technique. Technique is the
Okay.
most important thing. And in Japan now, the football is getting more popular, and the number of the girls who start football early is increasing. So their technical level is dramatically improving. So it is for us, it is most important factor. The other thing is the confidence. After we won the World Cup 2011, we feel we are very confident. So that changed our mind dramatically, and that changed the girls' mind also. So it is very much important factor to be champion or to win.
It's a really important point. The winning mentality is
Yeah,
so important.
we'll get to the
isn't it?
intangibles.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we will. I'm going to drill you guys about intangibles because to me, that kind of makeup of a player also speaks volumes as to what she's going to do on the pitch when the spotlight is hottest. But that physical aspect, before we get to the intangibles, the thing that pops about a player, what might that be in your eyes, Vanessa?
Well, I would use two words that for me summarize almost everything, is talent and personality. So talent involves like all the technical, tactical, creativity aspects of what I look in a player, and the personality that she never gives up, that she sets high goals for herself, that she's a winner, that she wants to win. And for me, those two aspects are really important. And even in the personality, I will also add the willingness to also combine soccer with her studies, because what are my players going to do after their career is over? And I kind of try to combine that as well, or look for those players that want to play soccer and also achieve academics and a career.
All right, you played at the highest level, you coached at the highest level, now you're finding and cultivating that talent for the United States. Go.
We're looking for younger players,
Okay.
more technical players. Japanese Americans would be great. We would like more like that.
Listen to you.
We would like more like that. And we're putting a heavy emphasis on players that with left-footed players.
I love that.
And players that have 2 feet, because I don't really know why, but in America, most of our players are right-footed, and especially on the women's side, and I hear that the boys are not like that. So that's something maybe we've been overlooking, is being the left foot or opposite for the majorities. And then
How was your left foot, by the way?
competent, but not as good.
Just wondering, please.
Yeah.
Where were we? Okay.
But, I want to take it to Costa Rica in this tournament right now. If you watch Costa Rica play right now, and this has been pretty exciting for me to watch a country from Concacaf bubble up, but it hasn't been a quick bubble up, just like Japan winning in 2011. We played against Japan when I was a player. They were good.
Okay.
They missed a few pieces, right? But today, if you look at Costa Rica in this tournament, almost all of their players have 2 feet. There is a plethora of left-footed players, and they're aggressive at going forward and have the confidence that Junta talked about. So a heavy emphasis on the technical and having 2 feet, and a little bit of an emphasis on finding more and more players and valuing left-footed players.
I love that. I haven't heard that specification in terms of both feet, and you're absolutely right. Boy, you put somebody on that left flank, and it can be a nightmare if they can't go with their left. I got you. All right, so the intangibles. So we're all looking for that next great player. Sometimes we see the player with the greatest physical skills in the world, and yet, as coaches, we think, why have they not continued to ascend? Why are they not reaching that level? What do you see sometimes in the elite players that have that extra gear because of the intangibles? You mentioned personality. You mentioned confidence. What are some of the intangibles that you look for that sometimes get that player to the elite level as much as the physical skills? Coach?
Those are national secrets, I think.
Give us one.
We will keep those.
Come on, give us one. Come on.
We say the psychological dimension. In America, we certainly have a competitive culture. We have a winning culture. Kelly alluded to the fact that that's the big change in Europe, is that the competitiveness has changed. And that's something that we've been able to tap into for 20 plus years. The psychological competitive spirit is really a strength of ours. And I believe you can teach it. You don't get born and just have it. I think that we, to a certain extent, we're culturally teaching it. We are systemically teaching it in our youth national team programs. We're teaching it on an individual basis because not every player is wired strong psychologically. Some are softer, younger, and they get stronger when they get older. Some have it, but need to refine it.
All right, you guys have given us, I got confidence, I've got personality. What do you think? Intangible. Talk to me, Kelly.
Yeah, well, the winning mentality I talked about earlier, I think is really important. But I actually think there's no substitute for a really good system and good coaches.
Okay.
And I think the big shift in the women's game is that whilst for a number of years there's been good coaches, I think more increasing now in the clubs, and particularly in the National Federation support for the national teams, you've got a range of support around that national coach. So expertise around nutrition and around fitness, strength and conditioning, medics, physios, the whole support package for players is in place. And I think, that's shifting the game on significantly.
How important is Oh, please, Vanessa,
I would
yes.
like to add one more thing that I
Yes,
think
please.
also an intangible that I consider also key for any national team player. It's passion for the game and love to play the sport you love. Because I think without passion, they will see what they do as sacrifices instead of something coming from inside.
And we've seen that when we hear stories about the women in Trinidad and Tobago, what they've had to go through in terms of practicing on pitches that are this high in water, very little money. Haiti, of course, coming over here with the devastation of what they went through, and then yet still donating some of their money to Trinidad and Tobago because they were even more underfunded. And Randy Waldrum saying, this just instilled how I love the humanity of this world because of how our people take care of each other. Yes. There's leadership in that type, in those actions. These are leaders. These are women who get it. And you could take them off the pitch and I want to be in a bunker with them. I want to work with them. I want them to be my friends. Those are the women to me who get it. How critical is leadership in developing an elite player? Somebody jump in.
Well, massively. And I think, I was last year, or a couple of years ago, I was at a conference in Jordan and, you talk about some of the challenges that women have overcome to play football. They've got countries in that region where it's illegal to play women's football.
Yes.
There were women coming to that conference risking their life, coming through really, really dangerous war zones to come to a conference to talk about and learn about women's football. It's incredible, the passion across the world that's sort of driving the game on globally. But yeah, it's all about leadership for me. Women or not just women and men in key leadership positions making a difference. Yeah.
And Junko, what about leadership in the academy? The young women, sometimes you can nurture a leader, sometimes they just have it.
Yeah, basically, we try to give them many opportunities for them to take initiative, to experience the one or two projects to be a leader. We want them to set goals and find a way to achieve it. So they have to communicate with the teammates, and they have things get through. So in our academy program, we have many programs for them to opportunity to take initiatives, and we will see and follow, because they have to be the leader by themselves. So we cannot just let them be a leader. So we facilitate them to try to be a leader, and we follow and we mentor it. Yes.
Vanessa and April, you honed leadership skills on the pitch when you were at your respective colleges, Texas, North Carolina. Then, of course, you take them to your respective national teams. You take that into coaching. Is that paramount for an elite player to be a leader? Or sometimes do you have to say, their personality isn't that. They quietly go about their business. Or must they be a leader to some extent? Vanessa?
Of course, there are different types of leaders, right? So there are people that lead just by example. They just get the job done. And I think that's also a great inspiration for players. There are other leaders that are more vocal, right? That they help you on the field. There are other leaders that help a lot outside the field, doing different things for the team. So I think you, as a coach, you need to find what type of leaders you have. And in my opinion, you need all of them. You need the ones that lead by example, that are quiet and timid. You need the ones that talk and motivate everybody. And also you need the ones that keep the team together and also have good sense of humor.
April, can you nurture a leader? Can you make a leader happen, if you will, with one of your elite kids?
Yeah, I think we ask our players to be leaders of their own life first, right? In terms of being good self-evaluators, being a student of the game, showing up on time, taking care of their own fitness, taking care of their own health and personal life away from the game itself. And then when you bring a collection of people together and after you're formulating a team, we can start to look at who might be the leader of, or a few leaders of that group.
Okay.
When we start with our under-20 team, we'll go through 45 to 55 players. And there are a lot of leaders in that group, but only a few that are actually capable of leading that team. They're all good leaders of their life. And it's been my experience in a 2-year cycle that when you get down to 24 players, 20 players for that team, as many as 3 or 4 could actually be the captain of that team.
Okay.
And you have to let it take its time. You have to help empower their voices. You have to give them a voice and then see how they do under pressure. But eventually you'll find that 3 or 4, maybe in some cases it's one real strong leader, maybe 2.
Okay. You guys mentioned a little bit the support roles that are now in place, that when April was playing, when I was a young woman, that we didn't talk about nutrition. You might have been aware of it, but it wasn't across the board. There certainly wasn't the strength and conditioning that is in place now, not the nutrition. We didn't have the kind of training and trainers that we have now that can really help an elite player just keep on trucking. How critical are those behind-the-scene people to develop our elite players?
Well, I think they're massively important, and it's something that we've really tried to focus on with the system we've put in place. So where we give licenses to the Girls' Centres of Excellence and funding is against certain qualifications, certain types of staff that we want working with those players, and a holistic approach to that, not just the coaching staff. I think the emphasis in the past was just about, have we got an A licensed coach, have we got a B licensed coach, what coaches have we got? It's much wider than that now, and obviously across through to our national teams and into our clubs through the Women's Super League. So I think it's really important that we've got the right expertise with those players.
Unko, how critical are those folks in your academy?
Yeah, they are very important. For younger elite players, have to be educational. So the players have to be they have to be they have to manage themselves by themselves, and they have to help by themselves. They have to do everything by their own knowledge and motivation in the future. So for younger players, every supportive program is educational.
Coaches, how much have you seen this really come into play, these support systems, and how critical are they?
I think they are very important. Right now I can share my experience at the university level. So I'm coaching in Canada at the University of Manitoba. And that's one of the first things that I wanted to do. I wanted to have more supporting staff to help my players develop. So this was the first year that I brought in a sports psychologist, a sports nutritionist, and a sports scientist that are helping our team. And I can tell you from the feedback that I got from the players, they really appreciated that, because you can have the best training you can imagine, but if the players are not nourished well, properly, the training adaptations don't happen. Psychologically, you need to teach players, especially at the highest level World Cups. Some players have never played at stadiums that are full of people, or when they have to be asked to give interviews. How do they manage that pressure? And I think sports psychology can offer a lot of help, and players really value that. But I think one key aspect is that this help has to be an ongoing process, not a one-time thing. because that won't help. It's like training, it has to be long-term,
Yeah.
and we need to educate our players in all those aspects. So we need to teach them how to take care of themselves. Nutrition is important, their sleep, recovery strategies, psychology. What are some things they can use to try to bring their performance at the highest level every single time? So they have to find those strategies, and we need to make sure we provide that help to guide their path.
You didn't get pushback initially? Oh, I'm not going to see some psychologist. Oh my gosh, what will my friends think? Or I don't want to eat that. I want pizza. I mean, did you get some pushback initially on some of these newfangled things that you wanted to try?
Well, maybe for some players, but the way we manage it is we install a psychology session for the whole group, right? And then the two people that help us were really, really good. They asked the players what they needed first. So you tell us, how can we help you? And then they throw up some themes that they wanted to speak about, and that helped a lot. And also they offer the players the opportunity to go see them at an individual basis if they needed anything. And then you see players that right away go and ask for help, others that don't take it, right? But at least for the whole team, we try to do one session every week.
Okay.
In that way, it's on an ongoing basis. They get help from the topics that they ask for, not that we are telling them, okay, you need to learn this. It's coming from them, and they get.
You know, we're in a luxurious position. I'm not sure that all of the Concacaf.
And we're going to talk about that. I hear you. I hear
Okay.
you. No. When you finish, though, in terms of your particular team, we'll go to that next chapter.
Yeah. You know, I think the lessons learned for me is that first you have to be, you've got to be able to assemble your team regularly. That's one of the biggest challenges for the member associations in Concacaf. When you're training regularly, you can really start to formulate the physical dimension and the fitness and the health and the well-being. You can implement your style of play over time. Then you can layer on some of the things Vanessa's talking about, nutrition, psychologists, sports scientists. And if there's a tool, and I think that some of the CONCACAF teams are really starting to implement this, one of the most important experts that they could hire at this point in their sort of evolution would be a goalkeeper coach. You're seeing the Trinidad and Tobago goalkeeper. She's incredibly competent. That's money well spent to put her in a position to feel confident and keep some of the balls out of the goal, right? A couple years ago, a lot of soft goals.
Okay.
So Costa Rica's goalkeeper is outstanding as well. So that's a really important layer. And then once you can start to assemble a team, I think another piece is this little piece right here, water.
Cheers.
Because we're actually now hydration testing our players every morning.
What does that look like?
It doesn't cost that much. We test them every morning, their urine every morning, and it has amazing performance implications. And I think that water, certainly hydration never came into my realm as a player. I just ran. I didn't care about drinking. I can remember the first time I ever heard somebody say, we need a drink. I'm like, really? Because when I was in Italy playing, they said no water before the game. It was a little cappuccino. They told us we could not drink water before the game in Italy. So I think hydration is, after the goalkeeper coach and after the fitness coach and after you're assembling your team regularly as a national team, a tool that is really cheap and easy to implement and to monitor athletes.
Kelly, you were going to jump in.
I was going to say, April touched on a point that when we were talking about how much the game's changed, and you were saying about will players accept these kind of newfangled things. I think with the amount of technology we've got now, that there's no hiding place. We've got a whole range of systems.
Can I just mention, Anne?
Stats, everything.
Yeah.
It's stats.
So I coached the team 10 years ago, and I went in with the team last week. There was so many people. We had like 19 staff members for 20 players. It was making my head spin. I had to go to California. I had to leave.
You
for a
needed
week.
name tags and stuff, didn't you?
You do need a name tag. It can also be problematic. Not a problem for a lot of the CONCACAF confederations, but it has to be implemented wisely, and it has to be implemented in a prioritized way, because you can also have too much of
Yeah,
some of.
I think that's a danger too.
It is.
All right, now, April touched on, and I really want you guys to look into your hearts on this one, and then have the hearts go up through the heads, and we'll talk about this. But you touched on the fact that we're all talking about, in a perfect world, how do we develop elite players? When we've got the money, we've got the resources, we're not dealing with as many cultural barriers, we're not dealing with as many financial barriers. We have got systems and academies in place, colleges that can kind of work our women up to where they need to be, what you've been able to do in England. With some of our Concacaf members, we do not have the luxury, the resources, we do not have the cultural approval, etc., that we can put all these things into place right away. Sports psychologists, are you kidding? We want balls.
Right.
So how do we, with our hearts open, without judgment, of course, with our hearts open, without judgment, of course, how Anybody want to jump in? Don't make me call your name.
Well, it's a really tough question, isn't
Yep.
it? Because we're all so busy trying to develop football in our own countries. But
For the greater good, though, Kelly.
Yeah,
Yes.
There's a lot of knowledge sharing goes on. FIFA and UEFA, my confederation, do a fantastic job of sharing knowledge. So, as an example, at the moment we're meeting in a few weeks in Germany to look at that. How do we try and move that top level elite women's league on? So I think, there's a lot of support around trying to share knowledge and ideas, and then obviously FIFA investing in all the countries. They've put up the amount of money that they ring fence for women's football, so it's really important that that's driven through. So there's some resources, some investment for the women's game, but I guess it's hard to sort of call what priorities you'd say for a country without knowing what their system is. So, like April said, goalkeeping was a real weakness, I think, across the world. So goalkeeping might be something
We just assume we'll have a coach,
I'd say, strength and conditioning would probably be next for me because we have so many injuries. Still got serious problems with ACL injuries. It's been, had a big rise in them, worryingly, in England this year.
But how do we develop players in the countries that might not have any of those plans or expertise models in place? What do we do? How do we do it? And this is a tough one, and I'm not expecting the silver bullet or to get it right here, right now. I'm just asking you guys to think about it a little bit.
I think there's some pillars for planning that are really helpful.
Okay.
Layered planning, SWOT analysis of where you are right now, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, literally some of the threats that you might have. And then layer in a plan for this year and for next year and the next year. I don't think any of us can look past 3 years anymore.
Okay.
The world's changing so quickly. Technology is influencing our lives so quickly. It's hard to look past a 3 to 5 year plan. But can you layer in a plan and then be tactical in how you implement the plan? You might go straight to the president. You might have a conversation. You might go to your general secretary. You might have somebody that you can work with and partner with in your federation to get some of the things that you aspire to get involved.
Got it.
And then you've got to be tactical sometimes. Okay, this year it's not going to happen, so let's try to implement this. This might be a little bit easier win this year or a little cheaper win this year, and next year you can be persistent. Because we see that all of the game's growing all over. And that's a result of planning, I think, in some cases, and persistence and people that are just determined to make it happen in their countries.
The raw talent is there. Oftentimes it gets missed. How do we find that talent in some of the countries that don't have the resources that we do?
Well, I would like to add something first to what
Yes,
April
please.
just said. I think after developing that plan, it's really important to get the support of the president of the MA. I think that's a crucial aspect because if the president of that particular country doesn't have the goal to develop women's football, you can have the best plan, show it to whoever you want, but you can't implement it. So I think that's the first thing that has to happen in an MA that wants to develop women's football. The president needs to be willing to develop it. And then if you have that support, then things can be implemented. And then for your second question, and how find players, I think you need to be open to look everywhere, because you never know where you're going to find the best talent, right? So it can be on a park where a girl is just playing with boys, and then you can find her there. You need to develop, countries have taken different strategies. Some of them develop small centers, or centers of excellence are sometimes called that way, in different regions, so that they can reach more players. But I think the main idea is to find talent everywhere, and then try to get places, centers where players that live far away, right, from the main capital of that country can have access, and also that coaches that are together working for the federation can see those players, can reach them, and can be identified.
So and Junker, I'm going to start with you, so here we go. So if you had some advice for the MAs in the room, and you were hired as a coach, or one of your academy coaches was hired to coach a team in the Caribbean or Central America, how would you start?
First of all, I would start with make the women's football visible and accessible for every girl who want to play football. Because we are actually in Japan, also in Japan, even in Japan, we are working on it. It's not accessible for every girl. So it is very important that if we can give the football for every girl, the talent will come. And also we will make some elite program, elite opportunity, because the good players are sometimes spoiled in their team. Everything is too easy for those players in the team. So we have to make them realize that there are something in the higher level. So if they don't know, they are just spoiled in their daily training or competition. So therefore, us, the elite program elite opportunity is kind of stimulation. So we cannot see every girl. So we just want to give them stimulation to the players all over Japan with those coaches. So about us, but we share all the system with the coaches in the country.
Does anybody want to jump in on that one? So you're going to start up as the head coach of a team in the Caribbean, Central America. Any advice that you would give our MAs in the audience?
I think I would land in country and then try to get a little bit of a listening tour and a watching tour going on. Travel around, watch some of the players play at all the age groups. Listen to what the people from that country think and what they view their style of play to be and what is a good player. And then try to be as inclusive as I can, because one of the benefits, unlike America, one of the benefits of being a smaller country is that you really can get a bus, so to speak, and then you're sort of working together to develop the national team. So often, coaches are so independent-minded, a little egocentric, and they want to land in country and do their own thing. And this is why often foreign coaches don't do well in countries. And so being inclusive, have a listening and a watching tour. And then one of the first things I would do is listen to their style of play and their vision and how it might mesh with mine. And then we have to define what a good player looks like. For so many years, I've assumed we all know what a good player looks like. Right? I used to say, even my mom can pick the best player out on the field. Right? And she probably could. But that's the easy part. It's the smaller kid, the kid that's technical. And then one of the other things I would do, if you'll bear with me, is look for younger players. They develop so much faster and blend them with an older group of players. And I go back to Costa Rica again. I'm in love with Costa Rica right now.
I hear you.
I spent 3 weeks there for the Under-17 World Cup. I liked the way their 17s played. And I was really inspired, and everybody was a little bit disappointed, but the crowd yelled for 90 minutes for them. And so I think there's a real potential in Costa Rica to develop the game. And those players played their little hearts out. And then they brought nearly the same team to the Under-20 World Cup. But there's a bigger difference, right? And they played the same style, and it was really inspiring. And so when you look at Costa Rica and the way they're playing here, there's still a lot of possibilities in there. And so what is a good player? In America, most people would pick the bigger kid, the faster, the more athletic kid. And we have to come away from that. But I think one of the things I say in our country and around the country is we need to think more like a small country. And that's a benefit to some of the Concacaf teams, is they are a small country. The vision that Japan has, they're very clear on their style of play. We have 24 players in camp, and 18 of them have a coach with a foreign accent. So it's hard to implement a style of play. In a smaller country with a clear vision, I think you could get a lot of players on the same page.
Vanessa?
No, I think
that's
April
good
has
stuff.
covered everything very
Actually,
well.
that's good stuff. Kelly, anything on that?
Well, if I was landing in the country as national coach, I'd say fire me quickly because it's not my area at all. But if I was coming in as, because the team won't do very well, but if I was coming in as the development director, then after, as Vanessa said, the first person I'd go to see what resources and support I can get. The second place I'd go is the government. There are a lot of governments across the world funding girls' football because it's got educational benefits, health benefits. So often you actually find that a lot of the girls' programs, they might be in the schools or they might be in health programs, so there's opportunities there. I'd also be onto the sponsors of the men's football over there, if they've got them, because increasingly corporate social responsibility agenda, why are you not supporting the girls, why are you not investing in community, girls and boys, you know, how can we get girls and boys programs together, that will improve the girls, it'll get more opportunities for girls. So those are the sorts of things I'd be pushing.
And there's more of an openness to that idea of inclusiveness, of funding, of resources, which is really magical. You all have just been brilliant. And, you know, what this day is about is who you are and what you've done and how you continue to impact the game. Every one of you still continues. The imprint is there and the impact is there. So thank you, first of all, for being here today, for giving up your really valuable time, hustling in at the last second,
I heard her introduction. I was here.
What the hell?
I was here.
Okay, well, but
I listened.
yeah, but you, no, seriously, thank you to each and every one of you, and please, it's on you to continue to do exactly what you're doing, and if you don't mind me saying, more. Keep giving us more. As you would say, learn, right? And give. So, let's all stand so folks can acknowledge what the heck you've done for us today.
Thank you.
Ladies? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you. You weren't really there that whole time. Thanks, April. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to clean up my mess and start a new one while you guys all take a coffee break or whatever kind of break that you want. I think it's like 10 minutes or something. You might have an agenda in front of you, but folks will start herding you back in when it's about that time. So 10 or 15 minutes, come on back and we'll get going with panel number 3. Thank you so much for being here today. Take a break. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Oh. Go to the bathroom. Hi, Dr. Bob.